Brown says that there is a flat earth group of climate change skeptics seeking to stop a deal on global warming. The Met Office says that it will publish some of the data it uses after leaked emails were published by British scientists which suggested that they were willing to distort the evidence. The PM met environmental campaigners at Downing Street yesterday as hundreds gathered in London for a climate change demonstration. Julie Anna Needham has more for us.
As the crowds began to assemble in central London, organisers were hoping for 40,000 people, making this the biggest climate change demonstration ever held in the UK. And they wanted this protest to be seen around the world. Delegates from 192 countries are meeting in 2 days to decide on a new global agreement to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Gordon Brown was one of the first world leaders to confirm his attendance.
I think there's still also a group of anti-change, anti-science, anti-reform, almost flat earth opponents of climate change. And I think over the next days, when we look at the scientific evidence, when we see the meteorological evidence, when we see what other countries are saying, what's actually happening to them now, Bangladesh or the Maldives or other areas around the world that I talk to the leaders of, then people will be convinced that it's absolutely essential that we take this historic step of getting the first ever world climate change deal at Copenhagen.
A bus powered by chip fat led today's march, and instead of the usual green, protesters wore blue.
It symbolises the potential impacts of climate change through rising sea levels and flooding, which will hit the UK as well as some of the world's poorest regions, but also to symbolise a wave of people, a tide of public opinion.
Thousands of people have travelled from all over the UK, representing more than 100 different groups, from religious organisations to the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. They're hoping that the government will listen to their message ahead of the Copenhagen Climate Change Summit, which begins on Monday.
I'm here today because we need to do something about our climate, otherwise there's not going to be anything left for our future generations.
We need Gordon Brown to act now and everybody else to act now, not talk, act now.
Basically trying to give the awareness and trying to enforce the government to act on climate change by toughening the legislation and getting more people actually involved.
I think there are lots of reasons to be optimistic.
Earlier in the day, the Climate Change Secretary spoke to some of the protesters during a phone conference before joining the march himself.
I think it's a sign of the fact that the people around me and the people around the world who've been saying this really matters are having an effect, because a year ago or so when I got this job, people said, is Copenhagen really going to produce anything given that there are all these other issues that the world is facing? I think that leaders around the world, including President Obama, now realise that this is a very big moment and we need to respond.
In Glasgow and Belfast, thousands took part in similar demonstrations. Back in London, the march culminated in a blue Mexican wave outside the Houses of Parliament. And the campaigning is set to continue over the coming days as the world's leaders begin to gather in Copenhagen. Julie Anna Needham, Sky News.